for me to see tracks of animals. The lower the sun is down to the horizons, the more of an angle or shadow it casts over a track, so the easier it is to see. Whereas if the sun's directly above you, or if it's overcast, it becomes considerably harder to see tracks. Question from Doug in Connecticut. Good morning, Doug. Welcome on board. Doug is asking, how do you establish how old tracks are? What are the signs you look for? There's a lot of different signs and clues that you do need to investigate, Doug. And I'm actually going to stop the vehicle and go through a few of these with you here. So, when you are tracking, Doug, when you are tracking, Doug, there are certain different things you can look for to try and establish how fresh the tracks are. It's not easy. That is something that needs to be known from the get-go. It's not an easy thing to do, tracking animals, and the fortunate thing about being in this area of South Africa or Africa is that there's some of the best trackers in the world that come from this area, the Shangaan people. They've spent many years in this area, so they're very comfortable with the scenery and surroundings. And a lot of them have spent time either poaching many years ago, or, so there's a vehicle coming, Doug, so I'm just going to get out the way. They should be able to squeeze past. We'll just say hello to them quickly and then I'll carry on with you, Doug. Morning. Morning. How are you guys doing? Yeah, very good. No, just Kanyuma briefly. He was lying there in Philemon's Dip and then he headed down the drainage, but we couldn't stay with him. Other than that, not too much, eh? Okay, have a good day, folks. Sorry, Doug. I was saying hello to some passers-by there. We don't get many of them out here. So, the trackers in this area, the Shangaan people, some of them used to be poachers many years ago and have been converted. And if not that, they've simply grown up herding livestock, losing livestock, and learning the skill of tracking. Now, whether you're tracking a goat or a lion or a leopard, you're looking for the same or similar signs in the ground, in the earth, and by telling how old tracks are, it doesn't matter whether it's a goat or a lion. You can still establish and learn how to tell how old or how fresh tracks may be. Clues that we may look for, if we find tracks, which usually the best time to find tracks for predators is in the morning after they've been active at night. So if you find tracks, the first thing you want to do is to not simply look at one individual track, but try and look at an area of over like 10 feet or 20 feet. And by increasing the areas of tracks, you're increasing the chance of seeing clues around those tracks. So let's say, for example, there you found one crisp track of a leopard, but then 2 steps ahead on another one of its footprints, you can see that a nocturnal bird has walked over its tracks. Now that means that the leopard would have had to pass, and then the bird would have had to come and land and then walk over a fair amount of time after the leopard has been there. You can only assume that because the nocturnal bird has been on the predator's tracks, on top of the predator's tracks, that it's not that fresh, but in the same breath, that nocturnal bird could have landed on top of the leopard's tracks 10 minutes after it had moved there, therefore not making a huge difference. But by seeing other tracks of nocturnal animals on top of certain tracks that you may be following are good indicating clues. To simply go down and feel the sand and make an impression similar to what you think a leopard would be doing, and seeing how that impression looks relative to the leopard's tracks. And that way, if they look quite similar, that means, well, there's a chance that, you know, the tracks aren't too old. With heat and temperature and wind, obviously that affects the sand and the granules, and they may start caving in and tracks may become less defined as time goes on. So the more defined they are, the fresher they are typically. What else can I think about regarding tracks, Doug? Nothing at the moment. Sadly, it is an aspect of this experience that we poorly convey to you, and that's simply because it's difficult to convey the essence of tracking when the camera is fixed on the vehicle, and when I can't talk to you even from off the vehicle. So in the coming years, as technology improves, the tracking experience will be able to be incorporated much better into this experience, and it's very important to get to that stage, because for guests that do come here and do experience a live game drive, they do have a tracker on the vehicle, and it does add a new dimension to things. But with us, we're still trying to fill that gap. But if I do think of anything else regarding tracks, I'll let you know. All I can tell you that is it's a lot of guesswork in between. Just like this morning, it was a process of trial and error and elimination. So when we did find the initial, the leopard tracks that we did end up finding the Kunyuma from those tracks, he was heading down the road that we were driving down, and I knew that not far behind us there was another road heading in that same direction. So instead of following each individual footstep, I leapfrogged ahead to check if there was a road that he could well have taken, which he didn't. So through the process of elimination, I established that he didn't take that road, and he potentially would have also been leading in the same general direction. And it was when I was going to get out and check that next, which he would have annoyed, as opposed to following each individual footstep, which is impossible, especially when they go off roads. You can't follow their tracks in this grass, it's impossible. So then you just follow probable trail pathways that in all likelihood would have taken the path of leasons. When you check along those pathways, if you do get lucky and find a sandy patch where you can maybe see one footprint, it's good fun though. It really is my favorite aspect of being out here, is tracking and finding animals. The excitement that we would lose if we didn't have to track animals, and if they were all collared, would for me detract greatly from the experience and the excitement of finding animals. So now we are going to drive the same road where we bumped into Karula 2 afternoons ago, the day before yesterday. Now she was last seen far from here on our eastern boundary by Mark the following morning, which was yesterday morning. So I'm not putting huge money on the fact that she could be here, but if not her, something else, someone else could be strolling down Mvubu Road. Mvubu is a hippopotamus in Shangaan. This is called Hippo Road. It leads down to Vuyatela Dam, which is where the hippos do a lot of their relaxing during the day. I think it is asking about the pregnant hyena, and sadly we don't have too much news on the hyena because they appear to have moved den sites. So oh, Tammy, sorry Tammy. So Tammy, no, sadly we don't have any updates on pregnant hyena. We were going to go to the den site this morning, but on the way there we found the tracks of Kunyuma Kunuma and then got distracted by looking for him, and then miraculously managed to actually find him. So we didn't make it to the hyena den site, and I haven't heard any word on there being activity there, so we don't know what the situation is regarding her. Come on, Karula, with your babies. Come up wherever you are. Morning, lads. Do you mind if we enjoy the shade with you for a moment? Good, thank you. Shame, but I feel bad because now we're dislodging them from their shade, so we will continue. As well as some buffalo for the Egyptian family, the Egyptian geese family, with their 7 chicks still all doing well. And then we were following male lion tracks, saw some other leopard tracks, continued following the male lion tracks. He sadly crossed out of our property. And then we came across Kunyuma's tracks on the way to the hyena den, and then we're lucky enough to find him. So, had a few brief visuals of him, and it is nice to have these brief sightings every now and then, because then when we do get spoiled rotten, like the one afternoon that comes to mind where myself and Brian spent 3 hours with the quarantine male from before drive started until after drive. We were with him basically non-stop. We lost him very briefly for a few moments here and there, but it is when you get those special, really long-term sightings that you realize how lucky we are to have the sightings we have. And the only way to gauge that is from the trickier mornings like this morning, where you're getting brief glimpses and he's in and out of shots, and we're losing him, finding him, crossing riverbeds, all part of the adventure, but difficult from a viewing perspective. It was good entertainment seeing the hippo that doesn't usually spend time in Treehouse Dam go up and not chase entirely, but he urged the buffalo to give him a bit more space in the east, and that is where rain comes from. And we haven't had rain for a few days, and we've had a lot of hot days, and that combination of factors often indicates that it's just a matter of time before the heavens open, and we do need it. It will certainly cool things down, and the plants need as much water as they can get at this time of the year. But we may have to erect the tarpaulin that makes Zanetta look like an old ox wagon, but it works, and at least that keeps all the equipment dry and still allows us the opportunity to head out. The problem is, though, that it does take a while to set up. It takes at least half an hour to rig it up properly. Okay, some more leopard tracks heading down this road. Looks to be like a female, potentially Karula. Oh. And they tend to get a little bit overlooked by myself and other people. So now we can just stop and really soak in their beauty. To see the leopard, and that is something to remember. Any sighting of a leopard is a good one, even if it's brief. So I'm very happy that we did get to see who is believed to be Kunuma this morning, and I look forward to an adventure with all of you this afternoon. So from myself, VM, and Alex, thanks very much for tuning in. Thanks for all the questions.